So we are going to talk about surface area of 3D figures. And the two that we are going to focus on for this lesson are prisms and cylinders. So when we talk about 3D figures are solids, and there are 5 different types. There are prisms, and prisms are defined as a solid that has 2 bases. The bases are congruent and parallel to each other, and you can see in this picture the 2 parts that are colored, the 2 triangles, are congruent and parallel to each other. For this reason, we would call this prism a triangular prism because we name the prism by its base. We also have a cylinder, which is another type of prism, but in this case, the cylinder has circles for its bases, and a cylinder will always have a circular set of bases. There are also pyramids. Pyramid is a solid with 1 base, and faces are sides that meet at 1 point, so a pyramid will always have a pointy top. Pyramids also get 2 names. Besides using the word pyramid, we use the name of the base. So again, you can see that this particular pyramid sits on a triangle. This is called a triangular pyramid. We also have a cone. A cone is a type of a pyramid, but its base is always a circle. And then we have a sphere, which is a solid that has a center point, and every point on that sphere is the same distance from the center. You can look at these particular types of shapes and see if they're a pyramid or a prism. You'll see 2 words in the name. One word will be pyramid or prism. The other word will be the type of shape that it has as a base. So number 1 is a pyramid. It has the pointy top, but it has a rectangle for its base, so it's a rectangular pyramid. A cone is always going to be called just a cone. This particular prism for number 3 has a triangle at the top, triangle at the bottom. It will be called a triangular prism. So again, prisms, pyramids will have 2 names. You can see in number 11, the bases are not always necessarily the top and bottom. In number 11, you can see that there's a triangle on each side. They are parallel and they are congruent. So that determines that the triangle would be the base, even though really it looks like it could be the side. So when we want to determine the surface area, there's a 4-step process that will help us be able to do that. The first thing we need to do is classify the shape. Is it a pyramid? Is it a prism? Is it a cylinder? What type of shape do we have? Then we're going to write the formula for that particular shape. We're going to determine the parts or the variables that we have and what those numbers would be. And then we're going to apply the formula using those numbers in the formula. So for surface area of a rectangular prism, and I might add, when we're finding surface area of shapes, the surface area would be how much wrapping paper. If we were to wrap this particular box, how much wrapping paper would it take to cover every part? Or how much paint would it take to cover this particular shape? That's going to be the surface area. For a rectangular prism, the formula is 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. So as we look at this particular diagram, we can see that we now have measurements. So we're going to find the surface area of this particular shape. So our first step is to classify, and this is a rectangular prism. The formula, 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. For this particular shape, the length is 7 feet, the width is 13 feet, and the height is 9 feet. So we're going to use those figures and plug it into our formula to come up with our total. So we've got 2 times the length times the width plus 2 times the length times the height plus 2 times the width times the height. When we simplify all those numbers, we get 182 plus 126 plus 234. We add those up and we get a total of 542 feet squared. When we're dealing with area, the unit that we use will always be squared. So we have a new shape and we're being asked to find the surface area again. So we're going to go through our 4-step process. We're going to classify this, and again, it's a rectangular prism. We see what the formula is for a rectangular prism. For this particular diagram, our length is 5 centimeters, our width is 16 centimeters, and our height is 10 centimeters. So we're going to plug all of our measurements into our formula, and we get again 2 times the length times the width plus 2 times the length times the height plus 2 times the width times the height. We are going to simplify all of those numbers and get 160 plus 100 plus 320 and add those up to get a total of 580 centimeters squared. So if we have a prism that has a base that is not a rectangle or a square, so we're not dealing with a box type shape, then there is a different formula for those types of prisms. And if you'll look about midway of this slide, you see surface area is HP plus 2 and a uppercase B. So let's figure out what all those things stand for. The H stands for height, and the height is always going to be the part of the shape that connects the two bases. So when I look at this particular prism, you can see the blue colored shape is a triangle, and that shape is also at the top. So you have a triangle on the top, a triangle on the bottom. Those are parallel and they are congruent. That means that my base in this particular shape is a triangle. The side that has the H is the segment of the shape that connects one triangle to the other. That's how I'm going to determine what my height is. The perimeter would be the amount that we get from adding all 3 of the sides of a base. So perimeter will be the sides added together. And the big B in the formula always stands for the base of whatever that shape is. I'm sorry, it always stands for the area of whatever that shape is. So in this case, because the base is a triangle, we would use the area for a triangle. So in this particular diagram, I have a triangle on the top and a triangle on the bottom. So this is a triangular prism, and I'm going to go through my same 4-step process. A triangular prism, the formula for a triangular prism is height times perimeter plus 2 times the area of the base, or big B. My height in this particular diagram is the 16, the side that's labeled 16 meters, because that connects the triangle on the top to the triangle on the bottom. That's my height. The perimeter, I'm going to look at either the top or the bottom, and I'm going to add those 3 sides together. So I get 9 and 12. And then when I look to the bottom, I can see that particular side is 15. I'm going to add those 3 numbers. I'm going to come up with 36 for my perimeter. And then we said the bases are triangles. So if I need to find the area for a triangle, that is 1/2 base times height. In this particular triangle, the base and height are 9 and 12. So I'm going to do 1/2 times 12 times 9 and get 54 for my big B, or for the area of a triangle. So just to recap, my height is 16 on this shape. My perimeter is 36. And the area of that triangle, the base, is going to be 54. I'm going to plug those numbers in. My height, 16 times my perimeter, 36, plus 2 times 54. I get 576 plus 108 for a total of 684 meters squared. All right, new diagram. In this particular case, this shape is sitting on something that looks like a rectangle, but I don't see any other rectangle that it's in this shape that would be parallel. So I have to look some other place other than what this shape is sitting on. And I can see in this particular diagram, I have a triangle on the front, and if I look on the other side, there's a triangle in the back. These 2 shapes would be considered the base because there are 2 of them, they're parallel, and they're congruent. Notice that this particular prism is not sitting on the base, but we still would call the 2 triangles the base. So this, if I go through my 4-step process, I have a triangular prism again. The formula, height times perimeter, plus 2 times big B, the area of the base. So my height in this particular diagram is 3, because it is the piece that connects the front triangle to the back triangle. That's my height. My perimeter is going to be 5 plus 12 plus 10. Those are the 3 sides. And that's going to give me a total of 27. And the base, we said that this particular prism has a triangle for its base. So the area for a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So for this particular shape, I'm going to use 1/2 12. And then the height of the triangle is going to be 4.1. Notice that the segment that's labeled 4.1 is perpendicular to the 12. That's the reason that that is the height in that particular triangle. So the base of the triangle is 24.6. So height is 3 again. Perimeter is 27. The big B is 1/2 12 times 4.1. That is the area of one of those triangles. It's 24.6. So plug all those parts in. 3 times 27 plus 2 times 24.6. I get 81 plus 49.2. And that gives me a total of 130.2 kilometers squared.